The snow fell in thick white sheets across the frozen wasteland. Jiwon knelt in the deep snow, her body shaking from cold and fear. In her arms she held Nuri, her only friend on this terrible planet. The small creature's light was fading. Its fur, which usually glowed with beautiful blue light, was now barely visible in the darkness. Jiwon's people were called the Velkin. They had pale blue skin and could feel the emotions of others. Right now she felt Nuri's pain like it was her own. It made her heart break. Tears rolled down her face and froze on her cheeks before they could fall. 3 months ago, Jiwon had come to this planet called Cryoth 7. Her job was to study the planet and see if anyone could live here. The answer was clear now. This place was death. The temperature dropped to minus 150 degrees. The wind could knock a person down. The air was hard to breathe, and there were creatures here that could kill. Nuri had found Jiwon on her first day here. The creature looked like a small fox, but its fur was made of tiny crystals that caught the light. It had 4 legs and a long tail. Its eyes were bright and intelligent. Nuri had stayed with her ever since, keeping her company in this lonely place. Today, everything went wrong. Jiwon had gone outside to collect samples. Nuri always came with her. They were near some ice cliffs when the attack came. The predators were huge, with sharp teeth and claws like knives. They moved fast across the snow. Jiwon ran, but Nuri stayed behind. The brave little creature fought to give Jiwon time to escape. When Jiwon looked back, she saw Nuri fall. She ran back, screaming and waving her arms. The predators ran away, but the damage was done. Nuri had deep cuts across its body. Blood stained the white snow red. Jiwon picked up her friend and ran back to her shelter as fast as she could. In her shelter, Jiwon tried everything she knew. She used her medical supplies to clean the wounds. She gave Nuri medicine for pain. She wrapped the creature in warm blankets. But it was not enough. Her supplies were meant for Velkin people, not for alien creatures. The wounds were too deep. The cold made everything worse. So Jiwon carried Nuri back outside. She did not know why. Maybe she thought the creature wanted to see its home one last time. Maybe she just could not stay inside and watch her friend die. She found a quiet spot away from the wind and sat down in the snow. She held Nuri close to her chest, trying to share her warmth. She sang an old Velkin song her mother had taught her. It was a song about stars and hope and love that never ends. Her voice was quiet and sad. The wind carried it away across the empty ice. Nuri's breathing was slow and weak. The light in its fur flickered like a candle about to go out. Jiwon used her empathic abilities to take away some of the pain. She poured all her love and comfort into the dying creature, but she knew it was goodbye. There was nothing more she could do. She thought about calling for help, but her communicator had broken 2 weeks ago. She was alone on this planet millions of miles from home. The rescue ship would not come for another month. By then, she would be alone in a different way. Nuri would be gone. The snow fell harder. The sky was getting dark. Jiwon closed her eyes and kept singing. She did not want Nuri to die afraid and alone. If these were the creature's last moments, Jiwon would make sure they were filled with love. Then she heard a sound. Footsteps in the snow, heavy boots crunching through the ice. Jiwon opened her eyes and looked up. Through the falling snow, she saw a figure walking toward her. At first, she thought her mind was playing tricks. She had been alone for so long. Maybe she was seeing things that were not there. But the figure kept coming. It was real. Someone was here. As it got closer, Jiwon saw it was wearing a thick suit made for extreme cold. The suit was bulky and covered in snow. The helmet was dark, hiding the face inside. The figure stopped a few feet away. Jiwon stared up at it, confused and afraid. Who was this? What did they want? The planet was supposed to be empty except for her. There was a hissing sound and the helmet began to retract. It folded back in sections, revealing the face underneath. Jiwon gasped. She knew that face. Not this specific person, but what they were. She had seen pictures. She had read reports. This was a human. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only made first contact 20 years ago. Most species, including the Velkin, thought humans were primitive. They came from a rough planet and had basic technology. They were considered friendly but simple. Nothing special. This human was a man with kind eyes and a serious face. He had dark hair covered in frost. He looked at Jiwon, then at Nuri in her arms. His expression changed to concern. He knelt down in the snow next to them, moving slowly so he would not scare her. "Hello?" he said. His voice was warm and calm. "My name is Taehyun." I am a human medic. I can help, G1 stared at him. Help? How could he help? Humans were primitive. Their medicine was basic. Everyone knew that. But she saw the equipment on his belt. She saw the confidence in his eyes. And she felt something she had not felt in hours. She felt hope. My friend is dying, G1 said. Her voice was rough from crying. I tried to help, but I could not. The wounds are too bad. The cold is too strong. Taehyun looked at Nuri carefully. He did not touch the creature yet. He just observed, his eyes moving over the injuries. Then he looked back at G1. His expression was serious but not hopeless. Let me help, he said again. I have medical equipment. I have experience with many types of biology. If you trust me, I think I can save your friend. Ji-won wanted to believe him. She wanted it so badly it hurt. But her training told her it was impossible. Human medicine was not advanced enough. They were too new, too primitive. How could this human do what her own advanced technology could not? But then she looked down at Nuri. The light was almost gone now. In a few minutes it would be too late. She had nothing to lose. If there was even a small chance, she had to take it. Please, Ji-won whispered. Please help, Taehyun nodded once. Then he moved into action. He pulled a device from his belt and pointed it at Nuri. The device hummed and glowed with blue light. It was a scanner of some kind. Ji-won watched as information appeared on a small screen. The scan took only seconds. Good, Taehyun said. I have the data. Now we work fast. He pulled out more equipment. Ji-won saw devices she did not recognize. They looked strange, different from Velkan medical tools, but Taehyun handled them with expert skill. His movements were quick but careful. He knew exactly what he was doing. As he worked, Taehyun talked. His voice stayed calm and steady. I am giving your friend medicine to stop the bleeding. Now I am cleaning the wounds with something that will prevent infection. This device here will help the body heal faster. And this blanket has special technology to warm from the inside. Ji-won watched in amazement. She could feel Nuri's pain starting to decrease. The creature's breathing became a little stronger. The light in its fur, which had almost disappeared, began to glow faintly again. Is it working? Ji-won asked. She was afraid to hope too much. Taehyun looked up at her and smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. Yes, he said. Your friend is going to live. For the first time in hours, Ji-won began to cry tears of joy instead of sorrow. She held Nuri close while Taehyun continued to work. The human had appeared from nowhere like a miracle, and he was saving the life Ji-won thought was lost forever. Everything was about to change. Taehyun worked through the night. His hands moved with quick precision over Nuri's small body. Ji-won watched every movement, amazed and confused. She had studied human technology in school. Everyone said it was simple and behind the times. But what she saw now did not match what she had learned. The human pulled out tiny needles filled with silver liquid. These are nanites, he explained. They are very small machines. So small you cannot see them. They go into the body and fix things from the inside. They can adapt to any type of biology. Ji-won had heard of nanites before. The Velkan people used them sometimes, but their nanites took days to program for a new species. They needed lots of information and testing. Taehyun's scanner had taken only seconds to map Nuri's biology. Now his nanites were ready to use. How was this possible? Taehyun injected the nanites carefully. He watched his scanner screen while he worked. Numbers and graphs moved across the display. Good, he said quietly. The nanites are working. They are stopping the bleeding from inside. Now we treat the outside wounds. He pulled out a small box and opened it. Inside was a tube of paste that glowed slightly green. This is a synthetic antibiotic, Taehyun said. My equipment made it special for your friend. It will kill any bacteria or infection. You made medicine right now? Ji-won asked. Her voice showed her shock. Just for Nuri? Taehyun nodded as he carefully applied the paste to Nuri's wounds. Yes, my medical kit has a synthesizer. It analyzes the problem and makes the solution. Every living thing gets sick in different ways. So we need different medicines. Human medical equipment is designed to work with any biology, not just our own. Ji-won thought about her own medical supplies. They were made specifically for Velkan biology. They worked very well for her people, but they could not help Nuri. She had never thought about medicine that could adapt to anything. It seemed impossible. Why do humans have such equipment? She asked. Most species use standard medical supplies for their own kind. Tae-hyun looked up at her while his hands continued working. Because Earth is not like other planets, he said. We have thousands of different species living together. Millions of types of bacteria and viruses. They all affect us. They all make us sick. We had to learn to fight all of them. He pulled out another device. This one looked like a flat metal plate. He placed it carefully on Nuri's body. This is a cellular regeneration field, he explained. It helps cells grow faster and heal better. The wounds will close much quicker than normal. The device hummed softly. Ji-won could feel it through her empathic abilities. Nuri's pain was getting less. The creature's life force was getting stronger. She looked at Tae-hyun with wonder. You are saving my friend, she whispered. Yes, Tae-hyun said simply. He pulled out a silver blanket and wrapped it around Nuri. This blanket creates heat. Not just on the surface, but deep inside the body. It will help your friend warm up safely. Ji-won watched as color began to return to Nuri's crystalline fur. The blue glow started to strengthen. It was still dim, but it was there. Her friend was alive. Really alive, not just barely holding on. How long have you been on this planet? Ji-won asked. She wanted to understand how this human came to be here in this terrible place at the exact moment she needed help. 6 months, Tae-hyun said. I am studying life forms that can survive in extreme conditions. This planet is perfect for that research. The creatures here are amazing. They live in cold that would kill most species. You have been here alone for 6 months? Ji-won could not hide her surprise. She had been here only 3 months and it felt like forever. She could not imagine staying longer. Tae-hyun smiled a little. I like the quiet. And there is so much to learn. Every organism on this planet has adapted to survive the impossible. They have lessons to teach us about life itself. He checked his scanner again. Your friend's vital signs are improving. The wounds are healing. The internal damage is being repaired. In a few hours, the danger will be past. But we should move to my shelter. The storm is getting worse, Ji-won looked around. She had been so focused on Nuri that she had not noticed the weather. The wind was stronger now. The snow was falling thick and fast. The temperature was dropping even more. Tae-hyun was right. They needed to get inside. My shelter is not far, Tae-hyun said. Can you carry your friend? I will guide us there. Ji-won nodded. She carefully lifted Nuri, keeping the creature wrapped in the warming blanket. Tae-hyun stood and activated something on his suit. A light appeared on his chest, bright enough to see through the storm. He started walking and Ji-won followed. The wind pushed against them. The snow felt like tiny knives hitting Ji-won's face, but Tae-hyun moved forward steadily. He knew where he was going. After about 10 minutes of walking, a shape appeared through the snow. It was a building, low and solid, built into the ice itself. Tae-hyun pressed his hand against a panel next to the door. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Warm air rushed out. They stepped inside quickly and the door closed behind them. Ji-won looked around in amazement. The shelter was warm and comfortable. The walls were smooth and clean. There were lights that gave off a soft white glow. She saw equipment and supplies organized neatly. There was a small kitchen area, a sleeping space, and a large work area with computers and scientific instruments. Please sit down, Tae-hyun said. He pointed to a comfortable chair. I will prepare a medical bed for your friend. Ji-won sat carefully, still holding Nuri. She watched as Tae-hyun moved to a corner of the shelter. He pulled out a flat panel and unfolded it. It expanded into a small bed with monitoring equipment attached. He pressed some buttons and screens lit up. You can place your friend here, he said. The bed will monitor all vital signs. If anything changes, we will know immediately. Ji-won gently placed Nuri on the bed. The creature was sleeping now, breathing slowly and steadily. The light in its fur was still dim but stable. She could feel through her empathic connection that Nuri was no longer in pain. Her friend was healing. Tae-hyun checked the monitors and nodded with satisfaction. Good, everything looks positive. Now would you like some tea? You must be cold and tired. Tea? Ji-won had heard of this human custom. It was a hot drink made from plants. She had never tried it. Yes, please, she said. Her voice was tired. She was cold and exhausted and emotionally drained. Tae-hyun moved to the kitchen area and began preparing the tea. Ji-won watched him work. His movements were efficient and practiced. He clearly knew how to take care of himself in this harsh environment. A few minutes later, he handed her a cup filled with steaming liquid. The smell was pleasant, earthy, and warm. Ji-won took a sip. It was hot and soothing. She felt it warm her from the inside. "Thank you," she said. "For everything. For saving Nuri, for bringing us here. For the tea." Tae-hyun sat down across from her with his own cup. "You do not need to thank me. Helping others is what we do. It is part of being human." Ji-won looked at him carefully. She had so many questions. About his technology. About his people. About why everything she had been taught about humans seemed to be wrong. But she was too tired to ask them all now. Instead, she asked the simplest one. "Why do you help?" she asked. "You do not know me. Nuri is not your responsibility. Why did you come out in the storm to save a stranger's pet?" Tae-hyun thought for a moment before answering. "Because life is precious," he said finally. "All life. Every living thing has value. On Earth we have a saying, where there is life, there is hope. We learned a long time ago that we must protect life wherever we find it, because once it is gone forever." Ji-won felt tears in her eyes again. She looked over at Nuri, sleeping peacefully on the medical bed. The creature she thought she would lose. The friend who had stayed with her through the lonely months, saved by a human who appeared like a miracle in the snow. Everything she thought she knew was changing. Humans were not primitive. They were not simple. They had something her people and most of the galaxy had forgotten. They had the stubborn belief that nothing was impossible, that every problem had a solution, that every life could be saved if you tried hard enough. And maybe, Ji-won thought as she sipped her tea, that made humans the most advanced species of all. Outside, the storm howled against the walls of the shelter. Inside, it was warm and peaceful. Ji-won sat in the comfortable chair holding her cup of tea. Nuri slept on the medical bed, the monitors showing steady, healthy signs. Tae-hyun sat across from her, relaxed but alert. "Tell me about Earth," Ji-won said. "I want to understand. We were taught that humans come from a simple world, but your technology is not simple at all." Tae-hyun smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile exactly, but more thoughtful. "Earth is not a simple world," he said. "In fact, most species would call it a death world. It is a planet that tries to kill you in 1,000 different ways." Ji-won leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Tae-hyun put down his tea and thought about how to explain. "Your planet is gentle, yes? Stable weather. Few dangerous animals. Diseases are rare and easy to treat." Ji-won nodded. "The Velkan homeworld was beautiful and peaceful. The temperature stayed comfortable all year. There were no predators that could hurt a Velkan. Illness was unusual. Yes, most civilized worlds are like that. We thought all advanced species came from similar places." "That is where you are wrong," Tae-hyun said. "Earth is nothing like that. Our weather can change from hot to cold in hours. We have storms that destroy entire cities. We have earthquakes that split the ground open. We have volcanoes that cover the sky with ash. We have floods and droughts and wildfires." Ji-won stared at him. "That sounds terrible. How do you survive?" "We adapt," Tae-hyun said simply. "We learn. We build shelters that can survive anything. We create warning systems. We help each other. When a disaster happens, we work together to fix it." He stood up and walked to a screen on the wall. He touched it and pictures appeared. Ji-won saw images of Earth. Some were beautiful, showing blue oceans and green forests. But others showed destruction. Massive storms. Cracked Earth. Walls of water. Flames consuming forests. "This is normal on Earth," Tae-hyun said. "We live with this every day. It made us strong. It made us creative. It made us stubborn. But the weather is not the worst part," he continued. "The worst part is the life itself. Earth has millions of species. Millions. They all compete for survival. They all want to live. Many of them see humans as food." Ji-won's eyes went wide. "Millions? We have only a few thousand species on our world, and none of them are dangerous to us," Tae-hyun nodded. "Earth has large predators with teeth and claws. It has tiny insects that spread deadly diseases. It has plants that can poison you if you touch them. It has bacteria and viruses that evolve faster than we can fight them. Everything on Earth is trying to survive, and many things will kill you to do it." He changed the pictures on the screen. Now Ji-won saw images of creatures. Some were beautiful. Some were terrifying. Big cats with sharp teeth. Snakes that could swallow prey whole. Spiders with venom. Tiny mosquitoes that carried disease. Sharks that hunted in the oceans. "Humans are not the strongest species on Earth," Tae-hyun said. "We are not the fastest. We do not have claws or sharp teeth. We do not have thick skin or poison. By all rights, we should have died out long ago." "But you did not," Ji-won said. You survived. How? We used our minds, Taehyun said. We made tools. We worked together. We learned to understand other species, not to fight them but to work with them. Do you know what domestication is? Ji-won shook her head. The word was not familiar. Domestication is when we take a wild animal and make it our friend, Taehyun explained. We did this with wolves. Dangerous predators that could kill us. We fed them. We cared for them. Over many generations they became dogs. Now dogs are our best friends. They help us hunt. They protect us. They love us. He showed her pictures of dogs, all different sizes and shapes. Some were big and strong. Some were small and cute. All of them looked happy next to their human companions. We did not stop with dogs, Taehyun said. We domesticated horses to help us travel. We domesticated cattle for food and milk. We domesticated chickens for eggs. We domesticated cats to catch mice. We even domesticated plants, turning wild grasses into crops that feed billions. Ji-won tried to imagine it, taking dangerous wild creatures and making them helpers. It seemed impossible. How long did this take? Thousands of years, Taehyun said. But we had no choice. We could not survive alone. So we learned to survive together. With animals. With each other. We built communities. We shared knowledge. When one person discovered something useful, they taught everyone else. He sat back down and picked up his tea again. This is why our medicine is different. We did not just need to heal humans. We needed to heal all the animals we lived with. Dogs got sick. Horses got injured. Cattle needed care. We learned to treat all of them. And the diseases, Ji-won said, beginning to understand. You said they evolve fast. Yes, Taehyun said. A disease that we could cure one year might change and come back different the next year. We had to learn to adapt faster than the diseases. We had to create medicine that could change and evolve too. That is why our medical technology can adapt to any biology. It was built to handle anything. Ji-won looked over at Nuri. The creature was resting peacefully, saved by technology designed to handle Earth's endless challenges. So humans became good at medicine because they had to, she said. It was survive or die. Exactly, Taehyun said. The same is true for all our technology. We learned to build strong shelters because storms destroyed weak ones. We learned to preserve food because winters were long and harsh. We learned to make fire to keep warm. We learned to make clothes to protect our skin. Every human technology exists because we needed it to survive. He showed her more pictures. Human cities built to withstand earthquakes, farms that could grow food in deserts, ships that could sail through massive storms, bridges that spanned huge distances. All of it was built strong and solid, designed to last. But the most important thing we learned, Taehyun said, was to never give up. When something seemed impossible, we tried anyway. When everyone said it could not be done, we did it. This is the human way. Ji-won felt something shift inside her mind. She understood now. Humans were not primitive. They were survivors. They came from a world that made them strong and adaptable and creative. While her people and others lived on gentle worlds and became comfortable, humans faced constant challenges and learned to overcome them all. We thought you were behind us, Ji-won said quietly. We thought we were more advanced because we had older civilizations and fancier ships. But we were wrong, were we not? Taehyun shrugged. Not wrong exactly. Your technology is very good, very efficient, very elegant. But it is designed for peace and stability. Ours is designed for chaos and survival. Neither is better. They are just different. But when something goes wrong, Ji-won said, when the situation is desperate and impossible, humans know what to do, because you have always faced desperate and impossible situations. Yes, Taehyun said with a small smile. That is exactly right. The storm continued to rage outside. But inside the shelter, Ji-won felt warm and safe. She looked at the human who had saved her friend's life. She thought about Earth and all its dangers. She thought about humans and their stubborn refusal to give up. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. They saw humans as young and primitive. They did not see the strength hidden beneath. They did not understand that sometimes the hardest path creates the strongest people. Ji-won finished her tea and set down the cup. Thank you for explaining, she said. I have learned more tonight than in all my years of study. Taehyun smiled warmly. You are welcome. Now you should rest. It has been a difficult day. Your friend is safe. The storm will pass. Tomorrow is a new day. Ji-won nodded. She was tired. More tired than she had realized. But it was a good tired. the tired that comes after fear has passed and hope has returned. She settled into the chair and closed her eyes. She could hear Nuri's steady breathing. She could hear the quiet hum of the medical equipment. She could hear Taehyun moving softly around the shelter. And for the first time in 3 months, she felt truly safe. Jiwon woke to the sound of soft chirping. She opened her eyes and saw bright light coming through the shelter windows. The storm had passed. Morning had come. And there, on the medical bed, Nuri was awake and alert. The creature's crystalline fur glowed with brilliant blue light, brighter than Jiwon had ever seen. Nuri turned its head and looked at her. Those intelligent eyes were clear and full of life. The creature made a happy sound and tried to stand up. Careful, Taehyun's voice came from across the shelter. He was making breakfast at the small kitchen. Your friend is healed, but should take it easy for another day or two. Jiwon rushed to Nuri's side. She ran her hands gently over the creature's body. The wounds were gone, completely gone. Not even scars remained. The fur felt healthy and strong. Through her empathic abilities, she could sense no pain at all, only happiness and energy. How is this possible? Jiwon whispered. Last night Nuri was dying. Now it is like nothing happened. Taehyun walked over with a plate of food. The nanites worked through the night. They repaired all the tissue damage. The regeneration field helped the cells grow back properly. Human medicine is very good at accelerated healing. We learned it from studying how some earth animals heal. He set the plate down and reached out slowly to Nuri. The creature sniffed his hand carefully. Then to Jiwon's surprise, Nuri nuzzled against Taehyun's palm. The creature was showing trust and affection. This was rare. Nuri usually only bonded with one person. Your friend knows I helped, Taehyun said with a smile. Animals are very smart. They understand kindness. Jiwon felt tears in her eyes again, but these were tears of joy. Thank you, she said. I do not have words big enough to express my gratitude. You gave me back, my friend. I was happy to help, Taehyun said. He looked genuinely pleased. Now you should eat. I made breakfast. It is human food, but I think you will like it. They sat together and ate. The food was simple but good. Warm and filling. As they ate, Jiwon found herself asking more questions. She wanted to understand everything about humans and Earth. Taehyun answered patiently, telling her stories about his world. He told her about the colonies humans had built on other planets in their own solar system. There was Europa, a moon covered in ice with an ocean underneath. Humans built cities there in the dark water. There was Venus, a planet so hot and poisonous that nothing should survive. But humans built floating cities in the clouds where the temperature was better. He told her about Mars, the red desert planet where humans grew food in underground farms. About Mercury, where humans collected energy from the nearby sun. About the asteroid belt where humans mined minerals from floating rocks. The galaxy said all these projects were impossible, Taehyun explained. They said humans could never live on Venus because it was too hostile. They said Europa was too cold and too dark. They said Mercury was too close to the sun, but humans did not listen. We tried anyway, and we succeeded. Jiwon shook her head in wonder. My people would never attempt such things. If a planet is not suitable, we find a different planet. We do not force it to work. But that is the difference, Taehyun said. Humans learned on Earth that you do not always get to choose your environment. Sometimes you must make the best of what you have, so we learned to adapt any place to suit us. A thought occurred to Jiwon. Is that why you are here? On this frozen planet that no one else would visit? Taehyun nodded. Yes, other species see Cryoth 7 and think it is worthless. Too cold, too harsh, no resources worth taking. But I see a planet full of life that has adapted to survive impossible conditions. Every organism here has something to teach us. He stood and walked to his computer. Look at this, he said. The screen showed microscopic images of cells and bacteria. These are microorganisms that live in the ice here. They survive at temperatures that would kill almost anything else. If we can understand how they do it, we can use that knowledge to help other species survive in extreme conditions. Jiwon joined him at the screen. The images were fascinating. Life in forms she had never imagined. You study things no one else studies, she said. You go places no one else goes. You try things no one else tries. Is this common for humans? Very common, Taehyun said. We have a word for it, curiosity. We always want to know more. We always want to see what is beyond the next hill. We always ask why and how and what if. Some species think we are reckless. But we just think we are interested. Before Jiwon could respond, a beeping sound came from Taehyun's equipment. He moved quickly to check it. His expression changed to concern. "There is an emergency signal," he said. "A Velkan ship in distress." Jiwon's heart sank. There were no other Velkans on this planet except her. Unless it was the survey team she had been part of. But they had left her here alone while they explored other areas. They were not supposed to return for another month. "Can you read the message?" she asked. Taehyun worked on the computer, pulling up the transmission. A voice came through, broken and filled with static. But Jiwon recognized it. It was Captain Bo-Ra, the leader of her survey team. Under attack, predator pack. Ship damaged, 3 injured, life support failing. The message was breaking up. But the meaning was clear. The team was in serious trouble. Jiwon felt panic rising. "Where are they? Can we help them?" Taehyun was already pulling up maps and coordinates. "They are about 4 hours away by standard Velkan transport. But they do not have 4 hours. According to this, their life support will fail in about 2 hours. Then they will die," Jiwon said. Her voice was hollow. She knew there was no way to reach them in time. Not with her equipment, not with standard technology. But Taehyun was not giving up. He was calculating something on his computer, his fingers moving fast across the controls. "Not necessarily," he said. "I have a shuttle. It is designed for extreme conditions. If we push it, we can get there in 90 minutes. Jiwon stared at him. 90 minutes? That is impossible. No ship can move that fast in atmosphere. The stress would tear it apart. Taehyun looked up at her with that calm confidence she was starting to recognize. "Most ships cannot," he said. "But this is a human ship. We build them tough. Are you coming?" "Yes," Jiwon said immediately. "Those are my people. My friends. I have to help them." "Good," Taehyun said. "Get your cold weather gear. Bring Nuri if the creature is strong enough to travel. This might be rough." Jiwon quickly gathered her things. Nuri seemed to sense the urgency and jumped down from the medical bed. The creature was moving well, showing no signs of weakness. Jiwon picked up Nuri and held the creature close. Together they followed Taehyun out of the shelter. Outside, the world was bright and white. The storm had left everything covered in fresh snow. The air was cold but still. And there, a short distance from the shelter, sat Taehyun's shuttle. It was unlike any ship Jiwon had seen. Most Velkan ships were smooth and elegant, designed for efficiency and beauty. The ship was blocky and solid. It had extra panels on the hull that looked like armor. The engines were large and powerful. It looked like it was built to take damage and keep flying. "It is not pretty," Taehyun said, seeing her expression. "But it works. That is what matters." They climbed aboard. The inside was cramped but functional. There were seats with heavy straps. Equipment was secured tightly to the walls. Everything looked sturdy and practical. Taehyun sat in the pilot seat and began the startup sequence. "Strap in tight," he said. "This will be a fast flight." Jiwon secured herself and Nuri in the passenger seat. The straps were complicated but strong. She could hear the engines powering up. They made a deep thrumming sound that she felt in her chest. "Ready?" Taehyun asked. "Ready," Jiwon said. She held Nuri close. Taehyun pulled back on the controls and the shuttle lifted into the air. Then he pushed forward, and they shot across the ice like a bullet. The acceleration pressed Jiwon back into her seat. The world outside became a blur of white. The ship shook and rattled, but it held together. Taehyun flew with intense concentration, his hands steady on the controls. A voice came from the computer. It was calm and female. "Velocity exceeding recommended safety limits. Hull stress at 60%. Estimate arrival in 87 minutes. Acknowledged, Hana," Taehyun said to the computer. "Keep me updated on hull integrity." Jiwon looked at him in amazement. They were doing the impossible. Flying faster than any ship should go. Pushing the limits of what technology could handle. All to save people they barely knew. But that was the human way. When someone needed help, you helped. When something seemed impossible, you tried anyway. When lives were at stake, you did whatever it took. Jiwon held Nuri close and said a prayer to the Velkan gods. She prayed they would reach the survey team in time. She prayed that Taehyun's incredible human technology would hold together. And she prayed that her friends would survive to see another day. Because if anyone could save them, it was the human who refused to accept defeat. The shuttle tore across the frozen landscape at incredible speed. Ice and snow blurred past the windows. The ship shook constantly from the extreme velocity, but Tae-hyun kept it under control. His hands moved confidently over the controls, making tiny adjustments to keep them on course. The computer, Hana, spoke in her calm voice. Hull stress at 75%. Estimate arrival in 43 minutes. Warning, ice storm ahead. Recommend course adjustment. Negative, Tae-hyun said. Course adjustment adds 10 minutes. We go through. Ji-won's eyes went wide. Through the storm?
Is that safe?
No, Tae-hyun said honestly. But it is faster. Your friends do not have time for safe. They hit the storm like flying into a wall. The ship was thrown sideways. Ice hammered against the hull like thousands of tiny hammers. The noise was deafening. Ji-won held Nuri tighter and closed her eyes. She was sure they were going to crash, but Tae-hyun fought the controls with steady determination. He did not panic. He did not slow down. He adjusted their angle and pushed through. The ship groaned and shook, but it held together. After what felt like forever but was only minutes, they burst out the other side of the storm into clear air. Hull integrity at 80%, Hana reported. All systems functioning. Well done. Ji-won opened her eyes. Her hands were shaking. You are insane, she said to Tae-hyun. That was the most dangerous thing I have ever experienced. Tae-hyun smiled slightly. Welcome to human space travel. We like to push limits. 20 minutes later, they saw the Velkin ship ahead. It was sitting on the ice, tilted at an angle. Part of the hull was damaged. Smoke rose from one of the engines. And surrounding the ship were the predators, at least a dozen of them, massive and dangerous, circling like they were waiting for an opportunity to attack. Those are the creatures that attacked Nuri, Ji-won said. But there are so many more. They hunt in packs, Tae-hyun observed. Smart, coordinated, dangerous, but they have a weakness. What weakness? Ji-won asked. Their hearing is very sensitive, Tae-hyun said. I studied these creatures. They use sound to communicate and hunt. If we disrupt that, we can scatter them. He pressed buttons on the control panel. Hana, activate sonic deterrent. Full power. Acknowledged, Hana said. Deploying sonic deterrent. The shuttle descended toward the predators. A sound started to emit from the ship. Ji-won could barely hear it, but she saw the effect immediately. The predators jerked their heads up. They shook them violently. They made sounds of distress. Then they ran, scattering in all directions across the ice. Within seconds, the area around the Velkin ship was clear. Tae-hyun brought the shuttle down next to it. Come on, he said. We need to work fast. Bring your medical supplies. They grabbed emergency equipment and ran to the damaged ship. The door was jammed, but Tae-hyun pulled out a tool that cut through the metal easily. They forced the door open and went inside. The inside of the ship was a disaster. Equipment was broken. Panels hung loose from the walls. The air was cold because the heating had failed. And there in the main cabin were 3 Velkin crew members in desperate condition. Captain Bo-ra was lying on the floor, her skin almost white from cold. She had cuts and bruises all over. Her breathing was shallow. Ji-won recognized the signs of severe hypothermia and internal injuries. Engineer Hyun-woo was trapped under a collapsed section of the ceiling. His leg was bent at a wrong angle. He was conscious but in terrible pain. Blood pooled around him. Pilot Da-eun was unconscious, slumped in her chair. There was a large bruise on her head. She was not responding to any stimulation. Ji-won felt despair. This was too much. 3 people, all critically injured. They would need a full medical facility to save them. They only had emergency supplies, but Tae-hyun was already moving. He pulled out his medical scanner and quickly checked all 3. Captain Bo-ra first, he said. She is closest to dying. Then the pilot. Then the engineer. Ji-won, I need you to help me. Can you do that? Yes, Ji-won said. Her training took over. She pushed down the fear and focused. Tell me what to do. Good, Tae-hyun said. We work together. I will handle the complex procedures. You assist and monitor. Trust me and do exactly as I say. He moved to Captain Bo-ra and immediately started treatment. He injected nanites to stop internal bleeding. He applied warming patches to raise her body temperature safely. He started an IV with fluids and medicine. His hands moved with incredible speed and precision. Ji-won, monitor her vital signs, Tae-hyun said. Tell me if anything changes. Ji-won watched the scanner he gave her. Numbers moved across the screen. Heart rate increasing, she reported. Temperature rising. Breathing improving. Excellent, Tae-hyun said. She is stabilizing. Now the pilot. He moved to Dayan and examined her head injury. Severe concussion. Some brain swelling. Dangerous but treatable. He pulled out a device Jiwon had never seen. It looked like a metal band. He placed it carefully around Dawoon's head. This is a neural stabilizer, Taehyun explained while he worked. It reduces swelling in the brain and helps damaged neurons repair themselves. Human medicine had to get very good at treating head injuries. We are fragile but determined to survive. The device hummed softly. Dayoon's eyes started to move under her eyelids. She is responding, Jiwon said with hope. Good. Now the engineer. This will be harder. Taehyun moved to Hyunwoo. We need to free him first. Help me lift this debris. Together they carefully lifted the collapsed section. Hyunwoo cried out in pain. I know, Taehyun said gently. I am sorry, but we must move you to treat you properly. They got the debris off. Hyunwoo's leg was badly broken. The bone was visible through the skin. Jiwon felt sick looking at it. But Taehyun remained calm and professional. This requires surgery, Taehyun said, but we do not have time for a full procedure. So we improvise. He pulled out what looked like a metal frame. This is bioreactive scaffolding. It will hold the bone in place while the body heals. Combined with nanites and accelerated healing, he will be walking in a few weeks instead of months. He gave Hyunwoo something for pain. Then, with Jiwon's help, he carefully set the bone and applied the scaffolding. Hyunwoo passed out from the pain, which was probably a mercy, but when Taehyun finished, the leg was straight and secure. All three are stabilized, Taehyun said after checking everyone again. But we need to get them to my shelter. This ship is not safe. It could collapse completely, and the predators might return. How do we move them? Jiwon asked. They are too injured to walk. My shuttle has medical beds, Taehyun said. We carry them one at a time. It will take multiple trips, but it is the only way. They worked together, carefully moving each crew member to the shuttle. Taehyun's medical equipment kept them stable during transport. When all three were aboard, Taehyun and Jiwon squeezed into the remaining space with Nuri. Hana, Taehyun said. Plot course back to base. Keep it smooth. We have critical patients. Understood, Hana said. Smooth flight protocols engaged. The shuttle lifted off gently and began the journey back. This time, Taehyun flew carefully, avoiding any turbulence. The trip took longer, but the patients remained stable. Jiwon sat among her rescued friends and looked at Taehyun. He had just saved 4 lives in one day. First Nuri, now Captain Bo-ra, Engineer Hyunwoo, and Pilot Da-yoon. He had done things that should have been impossible. How do you do it? She asked quietly. How do you make the impossible possible? Taehyun looked back at her and smiled. We do not think about impossible, he said. We only think about what needs to be done. Then we do it. That is the human way. Jiwon nodded slowly. She understood now. Humans did not have better technology because they were smarter. They had better technology because they refused to give up. They faced problems that would make other species quit. And they kept trying until they found solutions. It was not about being advanced. It was about being determined. And in that moment, Jiwon realized that humanity had something the rest of the galaxy desperately needed. They had hope. Real, stubborn, unbreakable hope that said no matter how bad things got, there was always a way forward. The shelter appeared ahead. Safety was close. Her friends would survive. Nuri was healthy and happy. And all of it was because one human had refused to accept defeat. Jiwon closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of thanks. Not to the Velkan gods, but to whatever force had brought Taehyun to this frozen planet at exactly the right time. Because he had not just saved lives, he had changed everything. 3 days had passed since the rescue. Taehyun's shelter had become a temporary hospital. All 3 injured Velkan crew members were recovering in medical beds that lined one wall. Monitors beeped softly, showing steady improvement in their conditions. Captain Bo-ra was the first to fully recover. She sat up in bed now, her color returned to normal. The internal injuries had healed completely thanks to the nanites. She watched Taehyun work with a mixture of gratitude and amazement. Pilot Da-yoon was awake and alert. The neural stabilizer had done its job. The brain swelling was gone. She had some headaches, but Taehyun said those would pass. She spent her time asking questions about the human shuttle and how it worked. Her curiosity was endless. Engineer Hyunwoo was still in bed, but his leg was healing remarkably fast. The bioreactive scaffolding was working perfectly. He could move his toes and feel sensation returning. He talked with Taehyun for hours about human engineering principles, taking notes on everything. Ji-won moved between them all, helping where she could. But mostly she watched and learned. She saw how Taehyun treated each person not as a patient but as a whole being. He talked to them. He explained what he was doing. He listened to their concerns. It was medicine with compassion built in. Nuri had become everyone's friend. The creature moved freely through the shelter, bringing comfort to the injured crew. Animals had a way of making people feel better, and Nuri seemed to understand this instinctively. The glowing crystalline fur brought light and warmth to the space. On the evening of the third day, they all sat together for dinner. Taehyun had cooked a meal that combined human and Velkan food preferences. It was simple but good. They ate and talked, sharing stories. "I must apologize," Captain Bora said. "Before this, I thought humans were primitive. I thought your species had nothing to offer the galaxy. I was wrong." "Completely wrong." Taehyun shook his head. "You were not wrong to think that. Most of the galaxy sees us that way. We are new. We have not proven ourselves yet. This is normal. But it is not fair," Daun said. "Your medicine saved our lives. Your shuttle flew through conditions that would destroy our ships. Your technology is incredible. Why does everyone think you are behind?" "Because we develop things differently," Taehyun explained. "Most species optimize for efficiency and elegance. They want everything to be perfect and beautiful. Humans optimize for reliability and adaptability. We want everything to work no matter what happens." Hyunwoo nodded from his bed. "I have been thinking about this. Your shuttle is not elegant. It is heavy and uses more fuel than it should. But it has backup systems for the backup systems. It can fly through storms that would ground anything else. It prioritizes function over form." "Exactly," Taehyun said. "A Velkan ship is more efficient when everything goes right. But a human ship keeps working when everything goes wrong. Neither approach is better. They are just different philosophies." "But your approach saved us," Bora said firmly. "When things went wrong, Velkan technology could not help. We needed human stubbornness and over-engineering." Ji-won spoke up. "I have been writing reports about everything that happened. About human capabilities. About what Taehyun did. The Velkan government needs to know. The whole galaxy needs to know. Will they believe you?" Daehyun asked. "Many species are proud. They do not want to admit they underestimated humans. They will believe when they see the evidence," Ji-won said. "I have medical scans showing injuries that should have been fatal. I have recordings of the shuttle flight. I have testimony from 4 Velkan witnesses. They cannot ignore this," Bora nodded. "I will add my voice as captain. I will formally request that the Velkan government establish closer ties with humanity. We need cultural and technological exchange programs. Not to take your technology," Hyunwoo added quickly, "but to learn your methods. To understand how you think about problems. That is what we really need." Taehyun looked around at all of them. He seemed genuinely moved by their words. "Thank you," he said. "But remember, humans have much to learn from other species too. Your empathic abilities, Ji-won, they are amazing. Your elegant engineering, Hyunwoo, it is beautiful. Your piloting intuition, Daeun, it is remarkable. We all have things to teach each other. That is the point of the galactic community," Bora said. "We should be learning from each other, not dismissing each other. Humanity deserves a proper place at the table." They continued talking late into the night. Stories were shared. Ideas were exchanged. Friendships were formed. Ji-won realized something important. This was how change happened. Not through grand declarations or political maneuvering, but through personal connections. Through people meeting and understanding each other. The next morning, Taehyun's long-range communicator activated. There was an incoming message from a Velkan rescue ship. They had finally received the distress signal and were coming to collect the survey team. They would arrive in 2 days. The news brought mixed feelings. Relief that proper rescue was coming, but also sadness that their time together was ending. In just a few days, these people who had been strangers had become something like family. They spent the remaining time well. Taehyun taught them more about human medicine and engineering. They taught him about Velkan culture and technology. Daehyun spent hours in the shuttle with Taehyun, learning the controls. Hyunwoo studied every piece of equipment he could reach from his bed. Bora planned official reports and proposals. Ji-won wrote everything down, documenting it all for history. Nuri seemed to sense that change was coming. The creature stayed close to everyone, as if trying to remember each person's presence. It had bonded with all of them, which was unusual for such animals. But then this whole situation was unusual. On the final evening before the rescue ship arrived, they had one last dinner together. The mood was bittersweet. They were happy the ordeal was over, but they were sad to part ways. "I want to make you all a promise," Bora said. "When we return home, I will do everything in my power to change how Velkans see humanity. You saved our lives. You showed us kindness when you had no obligation to help. You taught us that advancement is not just about technology, but about character." "I will visit Earth," Diane said, "if the government allows it. I want to see the planet that created such remarkable people. I want to understand more." "I will propose a technology exchange program," Hyunwoo said from his bed. "Not to steal designs, but to share philosophies. Falcon efficiency combined with human reliability. Together we could create something amazing." Ji-won looked at Tae-hyun. "What about you? What will you do?" Tae-hyun smiled. "I will stay here for a while longer. My research is not finished, but I will be happy knowing that humans and Velkans are building a real friendship that is worth more than any scientific discovery." "You could come with us," Ji-won said. "Be an ambassador. Help bridge our cultures." Tae-hyun shook his head gently. "That is not my path. I am a scientist and a medic. I belong in places like this, studying life and helping where I can. But others will come. Humans who are good at diplomacy and politics. They will build the bridges. I just plant the seeds," Ji-won understood. "Some people were meant to be in the spotlight. Others worked best behind the scenes. Tae-hyun was the latter. He would stay here alone on this frozen world, doing the quiet work that mattered, and when the next emergency came, he would be ready." The next day, the rescue ship arrived. It was a large Velkan vessel, sleek and elegant. It landed near Tae-hyun's shelter with barely a whisper. The crew who emerged were professional and efficient. They brought medical equipment and supplies, but when they examined the injured crew members, they were shocked. "These injuries should have required months of recovery," the Velkan doctor said. "How are you all in such good condition?" Bora smiled. "We had an excellent doctor." "A human doctor?" The Velkan doctor looked at Tae-hyun with new respect. "May I see your techniques?" "I would like to learn," and so it began. The sharing of knowledge. The building of bridges. Tae-hyun spent hours explaining his methods to the Velkan medical team. They took notes and asked questions. They were humble and eager to learn. When it was time to board the ship, goodbyes were said. Bora clasped Tae-hyun's hand in the Velkan gesture of deep respect. Tae-hyun hugged him, which was not traditional but felt right. Hyunwoo, still unable to walk, offered a salute from his stretcher. Ji-won was last. She held Nuri in her arms. The creature had recovered completely and glowed with vibrant health. "Thank you," she said to Tae-hyun, "for everything. You saved my friend. You saved my colleagues. You changed how I see the universe." "You are welcome," Tae-hyun said. "Take care of Nuri, and remember, where there is life, there is hope." Ji-won nodded. She would remember. She would never forget any of this. She boarded the ship with the others, and the door closed behind them. Through the window, she watched as the shelter grew smaller. She saw Tae-hyun standing alone in the snow, one hand raised in farewell. The ship lifted off and climbed into the sky. Cryoth 7 fell away below them. But Ji-won knew she would return someday, because this frozen planet held important lessons, and one human had shown her what it meant to never give up, to always help and to make the impossible possible. That was a gift worth more than all the technology in the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the rescue. Ji-won stood in a conference room on the Velkan homeworld, looking out at hundreds of faces. Scientists, doctors, politicians, and military leaders filled the auditorium. They had come to hear her speak about humanity. Nuri sat beside her on the stage, the creature's crystalline fur glowing softly under the lights. The sight of the healthy, vibrant animal was powerful. Many in the audience had read the reports about how close to death Nuri had been. Seeing the proof of human medicine made the stories real. Ji-won took a deep breath and began. 6 months ago, I thought I knew everything about the galaxy. I thought advanced meant efficient. I thought progress meant elegant technology and ancient wisdom. I thought humans were primitive newcomers with nothing to teach us. I was wrong about everything. She told them the whole story, about Nuri dying in the snow, about Tae-hyun appearing like a miracle, about the rescue of the survey team, about the conversations and lessons learned. She held nothing back. She showed medical scans, video recordings, and detailed technical data. Human technology is different, Ji-won explained. Not because they are less intelligent, but because they prioritize different things. They build for survival, not just efficiency. They design for chaos, not just order. And most importantly, they never accept defeat. She showed images of Earth, the beautiful blue planet that looks so peaceful from space. Then images of the surface. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, predators, diseases. The death world that had forged humanity into what they were. "We came from gentle worlds," Jiwan said. "We evolved in peace and stability. This made us civilized and cultured. But it also made us comfortable. We forgot how to adapt. We forgot how to push through impossible challenges. Humans never had that luxury. They face impossibility every day and overcome it." Captain Bora spoke next, her voice strong and clear. "As the ranking officer, I can confirm everything Jiwan said. Human intervention saved 4 lives that should have been lost. More than that, it challenged everything we thought we knew about advancement and progress." Pilot Da Yun followed, speaking about the shuttle and its incredible capabilities. Engineer Hyun Woo, who could now walk again thanks to human medicine, demonstrated his recovered leg and talked about bioreactive scaffolding technology. The audience listened with growing attention. Some looked skeptical at first, but the evidence was overwhelming. The medical scans showed injuries that standard Vulcan medicine would have taken months to heal, recovered in days. The flight data from the shuttle showed maneuvers that should have been impossible. The testimony of 4 respected Vulcan professionals carried weight. When the presentations ended, questions came. Many questions. Jiwan and her team answered them all patiently. They explained human philosophy. They described Earth's challenges. They talked about the stubborn determination that defined humanity. One elderly scientist stood up. "Are you suggesting we have underestimated humanity?" "Yes," Jiwan said simply. "The entire galaxy has. We saw them as young and primitive. We did not see the strength hidden beneath. We judged them by our standards instead of understanding them by their own context." "What do you propose we do?" a government official asked. Bora stepped forward. "Formal cultural exchange programs. Technology sharing, but more importantly, philosophy sharing. We need to learn how humans think, not just what they build. We need to understand their approach to problems." "Joint missions," Daun added. "Put human and Vulcan crews together. Let us learn from each other in real situations." "Medical training exchanges," Yunwoo suggested. "Human doctors teaching Vulcan doctors and vice versa. Each has strengths the other lacks." The discussions went on for hours. By the end, a consensus had formed. The Vulcan government would formally propose closer ties with humanity. They would invite human experts to share their knowledge. They would send Vulcan observers to learn human methods. A new era of cooperation was beginning. But the changes were not limited to the Vulcan people. Word spread through the galaxy. Other species heard about what happened on Cryoth 7. They read the reports. They saw the evidence. Slowly, attitudes began to shift. A new term appeared in galactic communication. Species started using the phrase human stubborn to describe a particular kind of determination. It meant refusing to give up even when logic said the situation was hopeless. It meant finding creative solutions to impossible problems. It meant pushing through adversity with unshakable resolve. Some species tried to teach this quality to their own people. They realized that comfort and efficiency had made them soft. They needed some of that human toughness, that refusal to accept defeat. Training programs started. Cultural exchanges increased. Humans found themselves in demand across the galaxy. Human engineers were hired to design systems that could survive anything. Human doctors were consulted on difficult cases. Human pilots were recruited for dangerous missions. The galaxy was discovering what Earth had always known. When things go wrong, you want a human on your team. Ji-Wan became an ambassador. Her official title was Cultural Liaison Officer for Human-Vulcan Relations. She traveled between worlds, giving speeches and facilitating exchanges. Nuri came with her everywhere, a living reminder of what human determination could achieve. But she never forgot Tai-Hyun. She kept in touch through long-range communications. He was still on Cryoth 7, still doing his research, still saving lives when needed. He had been right. He was not meant to be a diplomat or politician. He was meant to be where he was, doing the quiet but vital work. One day, Ji-Wan received a message from Tae-Hyun. It was short and simple. He had made a breakthrough in his research on cold-adapted organisms. The discoveries could help species colonize frozen worlds that were previously considered uninhabitable. He was sharing the data freely with all species. That was so human, Ji-won thought, finding something valuable and giving it away. Not seeking profit or advantage, just helping because it was the right thing to do. The galaxy still had much to learn about humanity. A year after the rescue, Ji-won stood before a different audience. This time it was on Earth itself. She had been invited to speak at a human university. The auditorium was packed with students eager to hear about life among the stars. She told them about the Vulcan people, about their empathy and culture, about their elegant technology and ancient civilization. She told them what the galaxy thought of humans, how they had been underestimated and dismissed, and how one human on a frozen planet had started to change all of that. "You are not primitive," Ji-won said to the human students. "You are survivors. You come from a world that made you strong and adaptable and creative. The galaxy is just beginning to understand what that means. You have gifts to share, not just technology but philosophy, not just knowledge but character." She paused and looked out at the young faces. "When I held my dying friend in the snow, I thought it was over. I thought there was no hope. Then a human appeared and showed me that hope is not something you find. It is something you create. You refuse to give up. You find a way forward. You make the impossible possible. That is your gift to the galaxy." The students applauded. After the speech, many came to meet Nuri and ask questions. They wanted to know about other species, about other worlds, about opportunities for humans in the wider galaxy. Ji-won answered them all, seeing in their eyes the same curiosity and determination that had saved her friend's life. That evening, Ji-won sat in a quiet park with Nuri. The creature played in the grass, happy and healthy. The earth sky above was blue and beautiful. Ji-won thought about everything that had changed, how one desperate moment in the snow had led to all of this. Her communicator chimed. It was a message from Tai-hyun. "Just checking in," he wrote. "Hope you are well. Still studying ice crystals here. Found 3 new species this week. Life finds a way." Ji-won smiled and wrote back. "We are well. Gave a speech today. 200 human students want to be xenobiologists now. You are inspiring the next generation without even trying." His reply came quickly. "Good. The galaxy needs curious minds. Thank you for everything you are doing. You changed as much as I did." Ji-won looked down at Nuri. The creature looked back with those intelligent eyes glowing softly in the fading light. "He is right," she said to her friend. "I did change. We all changed. And the galaxy is better for it." She thought about the future, about all the bridges being built between species, about all the knowledge being shared, about humans taking their place as full members of the galactic community, not as primitive newcomers but as valuable partners with unique strengths. The journey had started with desperation, a dying creature in the snow, a cry for help into an empty universe. But the universe was not empty. A human had been there, ready to help, equipped with technology born from necessity and character forged by adversity. And from that moment, everything had transformed. Not just for Ji-won and Nuri, but for entire civilizations. Because sometimes all it takes to change the galaxy is one person refusing to give up, one person believing that where there is life, there is hope, one person showing others what it means to be human. Ji-won picked up Nuri and held the creature close. They watched the sunset together, the earth sky painting itself in colors that Ji-won had never seen on her homeworld. It